Hello. Today I am going to inform everyone about the country Poland before, during, and after World War II. Can you picture residing in a country so weak it gets taken over twice by foreign enemies and struggles greatly and yet still somehow pieces itself back together? So, this is why I want to inform you about the country Poland. Personally, I've never been to Poland, but after researching this country for another class, Poland became very interesting for me. Now we will discuss Poland before the war. Even before World War II, Poland was a feeble country who fought to exist. According to the article Info Please, Poland was at one time two separate territories combined into one. Little Poland was formed by tribes of southern Poland. The Great Poland and Little Poland united under the rule of Casimir I, who was considered the restorer in 1037. Now that we looked at the starting of Poland, let's talk more of the history. The article about Poland on Info Please also talks about Poland's prime time as a country. In 1386, a royal marriage joined Poland and Lithuania. The two countries were known as a Polish-Lithuanian state. The newly created country reached its highest peak of power between the 14th and 16th centuries because of military success. This was Poland's at its prime time, but now we'll discuss the downfall. But along with success also comes struggle. Unfortunately, because of the lack of a strong monarchy, Russia, Persia, and Austria became divided up and taking over Poland in 1722. This continued for several years until 1795, where there was no longer a Poland left. The Polish people never stopped trying to regain their independence, and Poland was formally reconstructed in 1918 with Marshal Joseph Piłsudski as a chief of state. In 1919, Ignaz Paderewski became the first prime minister of Poland and ruled dictatorially until its death on May 12, 1935. Now that we talked about Poland before, let's talk about Poland during the war. In the article called Germany's World War II Occupation of Poland from Spiegel Online International, I learned that even in the very beginning of the war, Poland was taken over rapidly. On September 1st, 1939, German soldiers marched across the border into Poland with nothing on their mind but Hitler's orders, which were the destruction of the enemy. The most superior forces advanced so quickly that Polish government had to flee to Romania in just 16 days later. The Nazis had more time in Poland than any other country to execute their policy against those considered racially inferior. Germany took over the western part of Poland, and the Soviet Union took over the eastern half in accordance to a non-aggression treaty that was made between the two. After World War II, the rebuild of this devastated country once again was no easy task as well as a very long process. Stephen Payne, the author of the article Lest We Forget, World War II, tells us that Poland was abandoned by its allies and given to the Soviet Union. The British and Americans agreed to let Russia keep Poland land awarded them after the invasion of Poland in 1939. This effectively gave the Soviets the opportunity for the full-scale occupation of Poland. Poland itself was lost until the recent fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 after 50 years under Russian rule. The border was finally agreed to the West Germany and non-aggression pact signed on December 7, 1970. Now, Poland is one of Europe's strongest economical performers and now has their own constitution and joins NATO. It is the European Union in 2004. Today, we've learned more about Poland. We looked at the history of Poland on how it was created, how it impacted during the war, and its repair after the war. So one final thought is that we can think of Poland with one final quote. Greatness lies not in being strong, but in the right use of strength, by Henry Ward Beach. Thank you. Okay, some questions of mine is, was I talking too fast? And I need some help on how to make my speech better, so I am all up for some constructive criticism. Okay, thank you.